Good morning. It's a beautiful start to the day. We have probably half an hour before the breeze picks up, and hopefully get some trimming flights in and then test out this new little Sparrow 2 flight controller. So I've got the battery plugged in. It's just looking for GPSs. Oh no, looks like it's got GPSs according to the solid red light. Hopefully you can see that with my hat cam. So I can go ahead and arm it to stop the beeping. Throttle unlock and full throttle and down. Well, it stopped beeping, but I didn't hear it actually do the normal ESC beeps. Oh, there it is. Okay, I was a bit late. Check CG. Which way is the wind coming from? This way. CG is good. I'll plug in the video as well. So I've got a old Fat Shark balance lead power connector here. So I'm going to fire up the video power, and then I've got a separate little plug that goes to the DJI plug on the flight controller, which is just the telemetry transmit from the flight controller as well as the ground. So make sure I get these the right way. Now I've just got to go and fire up the goggles as well and make sure I've got the video and telemetry up. And I've just upgraded as well to the True RC X2 Airs. So I've already had one flight and just around this field. So far so good. I was able to fly lower and closer to the trees on the wrong side of those little hills than before. So I think they've done their job pretty well. Okay, I've got video and I've got telemetry. Excellent. This probably won't have automatic record on on arming, so I'm actually just going to manually turn on the recording now so that it's good to go. Recording. Nice. Alright, so the first step is going to be trimming this plane out in manual mode. A little bit nervous. Make sure I've got power. This is only a little 6-inch gem fan, so because I'd stripped this plane down and kept it really light, it's got a very small little 2207 motor and just three S batteries now instead of the big 4S that I was using before, so in theory should be okay. We'll see. With the extra weight, shouldn't have added too much. So, there we go. I'm just going to fly it as if I was at the park and trim it out, probably with the goggles on at some point. Wish me luck. Okay, at the moment it's turning right, so I'll trim it to the left, and I think it's up, pointing up a little bit as well. So I'm just trimming it out. I just need to try and keep the throttle consistent, otherwise I'm not really trimming it well. It'll always drop in a turn, being a plank. It still looks like it's nosing up, and it's still turning to the right. Yep, alright, I think we're getting fairly close to the ballpark that I'd be comfortable doing the mechanical adjustments and going again. Aim here is to reset the trims on the radio so that the flight controller has mid-stick for the flight modes. Yep, that's sitting reasonably well. Alright, so I'm just going to land it, hopefully without breaking anything, because this plane is a little bit prone to breakages. Okay, I can use my disarm so that there's no throttle. and that's also the channel 5 for ELRS, which it likes to have an arm and a disarm state as well, so it's handy to tie those together. Okay, so I'll come back to you in a moment. What I'm going to do now is basically look at where the trims have ended up and try to make those positions of each elevon mechanically adjusted rather than through the radio trims. And then I'll come back to you. Okay, that was a bit messier than anticipated. I just don't have the right tool to do ball links, but anyway, we're good to go again. So, make sure my radio trims are centered. Good to go again. I'm going to plug the video back in, which I unplugged just to save the battery and the heat. Armed. Okay, here we go again. Make sure I've got power. Yes, I do. Okay. Second trimming flight, just to make sure. Still nosing up. Let me just get the throttle back under control. That could be part of it. So, still gently rolling to the right, and still climbing by the looks of it. Not as bad as before, so probably only needs one further adjustment to get sorted. I should have set my radio trims for maximum movements rather than medium resolution, because I'm having to make quite a lot of changes to make anything evident. Okay, that's starting to look alright. It's kind of leaning a bit both ways depending on where I've left it. So let's just check the pitch again. What makes it hard is this plane does have a tendency to climb or fall depending on throttle quite a lot. Yep, okay, so the roll I'm pretty happy with, and the pitch doesn't look too bad. So I'll land it one more time, do those adjustments, reset the trims, and we'll go with that. Oh, hello. Got me. Not used to flying, landing line of sight these days. Just notice my CG has changed slightly, so that'll be affecting the trims as well. Yeah, that CG could have made some difference. So I might leave pitch alone, but I'll just check the roll. So once again, I had a fair bit of roll to the left. I might just raise the left elevon, and that should get us pretty close. I'm just going to eyeball it. So right now I've got about 1 millimeter of overlap on the inside, and that's what I'm aiming to achieve once I've mechanically trimmed it and centered the trims. So I'm going to center the trims now just so I can see what the difference is. Okay, so I wanted to raise it, which means I need to wind it out. If I go a full turn, that'll be too much, I think. So I'll just go a half turn. Breeze is starting to come up. That'll do. So on this one, I'll leave the trim centered, even if they're not quite right, and that way I can chuck the goggles on and test out some of the flight modes. Check CG one more time, just for consistency. Perfect. Now I can't leave this plane alone when I sit down to put my goggles on, so I'm going to have to use one of the flight modes and hope everything's working, I guess. But I'll get it in the air manually first. I'm arming. Manual mode. Lovely. Alright, so before I look away and put my goggles on, I am going to test stabilize mode to see if I can trust it to keep the plane flying straight and at least not plummeting. Don't care if it's a little bit pitching, as long as it's not going to dive to the ground, I'm happy. Turning around into the wind. Wait until it's not straight over my head. Oh, heading to the houses. Okay, stabilize mode is on. Looks to be holding pretty good. Putting my goggles on. It is dropping, so I need to hurry here. Okay. I've got the 6. It was dropping. Oh, I hope I reset those trims on the pitch as well. Maybe I didn't. I'll reset them if I haven't. And that might be it. Just want to get a bit of altitude. So OSD wise, it's got everything you need. I've got a return to home and a distance from home indicator. Yeah, it's not bad. Trim centered. Where's my altitude? On the right side, yeah, it's still pitching down even with the trim centered at sort of 2 meters per second. So I'll definitely need to bring that up. What I'm curious about is whether this flight controller does RTH at 25 meters or 50 meters. So I'll test that as well. If I'm going to trust it, I might as well give it a go. So here we are, sitting at 90 meters. Now going to hit return to home. It's turned home. Let's see what it does. Actually, it seems to have stabilized. It's sitting at about 91 meters. 92. Okay, so must return to home at your current altitude, and then we'll see what it does once it's home. Okay, did a little swing to the left and then banking to the right. It's down to 69 meters. There is a bit of a breeze now, so it's not doing too badly. Hopefully it doesn't fly over those houses. Keep banking. Yep. So it's still sitting at 68 meters. I'm just watching to see if it drops it down any further. When it levels out, it's back up to around 75. Banking, it drops a little, which is just the plane. That's interesting. So it's not actually going to descend down to a particular height by the looks of it. So 68 meters. And then when it levels out, it bumps back up to about 73, 74 meters. So that seems to be the height that it's aiming for. Okay, that's not bad. I'll put it into stabilized again. And let's just enjoy some flying. So this is in stabilized mode. And I've reduced the gain a reasonable amount. It is dropping altitude slowly, so what I might do is I'll just use my trims and see if that helps. Ah, there we go. I've now reached a point where it's climbing gradually instead of dropping. Okay, so that's sort of holding level now with just using the radio trims. I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to, but well, it's doing the job for now. And it just means I can actually fly around and check it out. So I'm going to go maximum roll, 45 degrees it seems, in the gain that I've got. Oh, that's a bit more than 45, but it's stabilizing. Okay, so where I've got the gains at the moment and the amount of movement on the elevons, it's able to turn up to 45 degrees, which is perfect. I like it there. I've got some expo as well, so the middle of the stick is nice and predictable. Yeah, it feels nice, and actually, given that there's a breeze, it's pretty steady. Yep, holding altitude, so I've been able to use my trims actually, and it's holding pretty well. And now I can just actually enjoy flying. What a beautiful day. Yep, every now and then the wind rocks the plane and it just comes back to center. Not too snappy, which is nice. It's kind of just slightly mushy, which makes for a nice cruisy feel. Alright, I'm going to do another return to home test. 75 meters, hitting return to home. Okay, it's roughly turned home, and it's at 77 meters, 75 meters, 75.5 meters. Okay, so it's trying to maintain the altitude that you were at when you hit return to home. I like that, that's pretty good. So what happens if I put steering inputs in while it's returning to home? Pitch. Nope, I have no controls while it's in return to home mode. What happens if I throttle off? Nope, I have no throttle control either. It is maintaining 60 to 65 k's an hour and doing its own thing in return to home mode. I have the throttle fully off and it's still sitting at 60 k's an hour, now overhead and circling at around 65 meters. So I can hear the throttle is lower than it was before. Actually, it's in danger of stalling now. It's 35 k's an hour. I'm just going to bump it up. So my question is, in RTH, can I manually increase the throttle? Yes, I can hear it straight away. So you can increase, and looks like you can drop the minimum. So at the moment it's sitting at about 60 k's an hour. But that looks like it'll keep dropping while I've got the throttle low. Yep, it's down to 40. So it does take note of the throttle in terms of the minimum and maximum that it will use, but it does use auto throttle in RTH mode, which is nice. What about in stabilize? Yep, I can throttle off, and obviously I've got access to all the throttle. I'm really impressed so far. This is flying smoothly. It returns to home, holding its altitude, even in stabilized mode, which I'm in at the moment. It's at 60 meters now, for example. If I've done a turn and the plane drops because it's a delta, let's just zigzag and make the plane drop a bit. Once you've let the sticks go again and it stabilizes, it brings it back up. Nope, it's sitting at about 54 meters, 55, 56. I'm wondering if it's just going to bring it back up to where it was. Yeah, it brought it up back to about 56 meters, so it tries to come back to roughly where you were before. So that's pretty cool. And what I like is that it doesn't do anything jerkily. It kind of gradually, resumes heading. It gradually comes back to the altitude. It just leaves things feeling nice and cruisy. Alright, I'm still in stabilized mode, so I'm just going to gradually climb up to 100 meters just to get a nice view. And maybe have a bit of a play in manual mode as well. It's nice being able to let the sticks go actually. I don't normally fly in stabilized mode because iNav stabilized mode doesn't feel as natural as this. I'm up to 80 meters. Start turning. Alright, let's get a bit more height. Okay. So, I've been having so much fun that I forgot I'm only using a small 3S battery, and I've already drained it. It's down to 9.5 volts. My bad. I need to keep the current low and hopefully get home. I was wondering why the plane wasn't climbing, and it's because I was out of power. So, looks like I'm up for a long walk. Come on, you can do it. No, the plane is not maintaining altitude, so it looks like I've done the newbie thing of not watching my battery. And because I haven't set any alerts in the plane, well, that's that. Okay. Well, I better rush because the VTX will keep draining the battery. I can disarm, I can stop the goggles recording. Alright, well, I'll hopefully come back and have another flight after I've retrieved the plane. Hopefully no snakes out this morning. Alright, should just be up near these little trees. Lovely. Trying to return home or something. Okay. No, it's out of power, so it got locked once it ran out. Let me unplug everything. Sorry, battery. That was bad of me. And normally I'm out here flying on 4,000 milliamp lithium ions for half an hour, so it didn't occur to me that I was only on a small 3S on a slightly power hungry plane, and this would become an issue. So, alright, all good, nothing broken. I'll check that the elevons are okay when I go back. Alright, get the goggles on and we should be good to go again. What I do want to try though is seeing if I can get RTH auto launch working. The descriptions are not very clear, but it says something about RTH mode, full throttle, shake it and let it go. So we'll see what happens, because if I already armed the plane, then going full throttle would mean it's going full throttle. Although in RTH mode it obviously has auto throttle, so maybe that's the theory. I'll give it a try. In return to home mode, going full throttle. If I now shake the plane, it should be good to go. Should. Let's see what happens. I'm going to do the overhand. See, I don't know how that's going to work, because it's not actually armed yet, because I haven't put the throttle down. I'll put the throttle down. There it is. Now it's still in return to home mode, so I'm going to go full throttle. Oh look, it's not doing anything. Excellent, so it knows it's not in motion. Give it a shake. Look at that! Hands off the sticks at the moment. Wow, okay. I just put it into stabilize mode, and it was at 100 meters, 99. So that worked really well. I probably let the plane go a little early because it hadn't fully spooled up yet. But yeah, okay. There we go. So you have to arm the plane with the throttle up and down, and then you go full throttle, or I suppose you don't have to go full throttle, and then you give it a shake to wake it up and off it goes. I guess if you really trusted your throw, you could also just throw the plane, but it took quite a while to spool up, so I wouldn't personally do that, because I think I would hit the ground every time. But yeah, that worked. So I'm in stabilize mode now, sitting at 90 meters, and you know what, I'm just going to enjoy this flight, watch the battery, I'll have to set up some alerts using the telemetry on the radio so that it tells me when it's sort of approaching, 10.5 volts, and that way at least I know it's time to watch out. Going into manual mode now. Yep, top corner of the screen says manual, so that's good. Yeah, I can definitely tell when it's not in stabilized mode. Making constant corrections. It isn't leaning in one direction constantly, so at least my trims are pretty close on the roll. And I've still got some up trim in it at the moment, which seems to be about right. Ooh, knocked. Alright, let's see how much roll and pitch authority I've got. So I'll go a little bit higher throttle. Let's try roll. Yep, roll's not bad. It's not really an acrobatic plane, of course, being a big cruiser. Speed up. Let's see if I can do a roll. I'll loop. Nope, it doesn't want to loop. Okay, never mind, we'll skip the loop. Yeah, this hasn't got an acro mode, so you don't have just a gyro stabilizer reaction to the wind. You've either got manual or full stabilized mode. And to be honest, someone who buys this flight controller probably would be happy with just those two options. Certainly on a plane like this, which is quite steady anyway, you're either going to be flying in manual if you're sort of zipping in and out of stuff, or you're just going to leave it in stabilized mode, which also gives you alt hold. So I'm just going to flick it back into stabilized now, and yeah, go back to just cruising around. It may not have the reaction times that I would want, certainly not on the pitch altitude changes, to be doing proximity flying. Yeah, see, if I pitch up and down, it takes a little bit of time. It is really like a fly-by-wire system, which, if you've flown RG plane before, you probably feel quite comfortable. Alright, I'm going to stick it in manual, and one little proximity run before I think about landing it, before I run the battery low again. It's already down to 11.6 volts. Yeah, see, my up trim for the stabilized mode is actually constantly fighting me in manual mode. It wants to pitch up all the time, so definitely has an effect. Yeah, it's getting a bit windy for this sort of flying. Oops, blowing the plane sideways. Yeah, so in manual mode is where you want to be for this sort of flying. Hello, bird. Because then you've got full control of what the plane's doing. Yeah, the wind's just not helping me now. Oh, hello, kangaroos. Fail. Oh, okay, no, wrong conditions for this test. So I'm down to 11.4 volts if I'm cruising. Might just get a bit of altitude, and where before I meant to get to 100 meters and enjoy the view, this time I actually will have just enough power to do that before I come in. Starting to get thrown around a bit more. Alright, I'm going to set up for landing from behind. I'm going to try and do it in stabilize mode, because I can throttle off, so don't see why it would be a problem. Other than it trying to hold altitude, I suppose, but hopefully it realizes when I've throttled off that descending is okay. Okay, keep the throttle on. Starting to back off now. Yeah, no problem at all. Hello! Stop the goggles recording. Okay. Let's just unplug the video first so it doesn't overheat. And power. There we go. Alright, so I guess some concluding thoughts. Pretty impressed, you know, considering it's what, $38–39 US, including the GPS and the wiring harness. It was a pretty straightforward setup. I did it sort of within a couple of hours of figuring things out and soldering things together. For the wiring, the GPS was great. The stabilization is really smooth. I'm very impressed, and it tries to maintain altitude if you haven't done any major turns. If you have done a turn and it ends up, you know, level again at a different altitude, then it seems that's the altitude that it will then try and maintain for you. So it's got a really nice cruise mode, and the return to home mode works fine. Comes back at the height that you engage it, and then actually doesn't drop when it gets home, it seems. So overall, really impressed. I think for the money this is a pretty good little package. I'm going to keep it in this plane and, you know, continue to fly it, probably on a bigger battery next time, and maybe bump this plane back up to 4S just to get some more time and enjoyment out of it. And yeah, it looks like I don't foresee any issues. The only one I do have, and hopefully you can hear me above the wind, is that apparently it doesn't detect a failsafe in crossfire or ELRS mode. It's not really an issue flying with me because I'll never lose the ELRS, you know, unless my radio runs out of battery. But if it doesn't pick up the failsafe, and therefore it never actually switches into RTH mode itself, then that, in that instance, you could run into trouble if you haven't got a connection with the plane. If you're on SBus or PWM, then there are ways you can program a default setting, and it says in the manual that it detects an SBus failsafe. Although I would definitely want to test that for yourself before you go out to range if you're using this flight controller as well, just to see what happens when you turn your radio off. Okay, I think that will do for the day. The wind has definitely picked up and the clouds are coming, so I'm going to call that a success, other than running out of battery today. That was a nice little walk, and let's call it a day.